When a child decides to choose her own mother, she turns a woman's fate upside down and transforms silence into something impossible to ignore. On the night when the Winter Lights Festival illuminated the streets of Aspen, Emma Mitchell walked alone among the crowd of tourists and families. The end-of-year spectacle was nationally renowned, attracting people from all corners of the country. But Emma seemed wrapped in a silence that neither the golden bells nor the subtle fireworks could break. At 42, she had built an empire in the financial market that placed her among the most influential women in America. Her name graced the covers of business magazines, her face recognized at corporate events in New York, Chicago, and even at international conferences. But that December night was different. Emma had decided to escape the hustle of New York City, the endless charts, contracts, and networking dinners. She needed air, space, distance from the world she had built with such care. Her hands, always occupied with reports or sliding across smartphone screens, were now tucked into the pockets of an elegant wool coat, protecting herself from the mountain cold that cut through the Colorado night. The year had been difficult, not because of business, which was thriving as never before, but because of something Emma couldn't name. A persistent feeling of emptiness that no professional achievement seemed to fill. Loneliness had become a constant companion, even in rooms full of admirers and colleagues. It was at that moment, in front of one of the majestic illuminated pine trees in Aspen's Central Park, that something broke through her bubble of isolation. A little girl, her face partially hidden by a worn red beanie, approached with timid steps. She couldn't have been more than 6 years old, and her large brown eyes observed Emma with an almost reverent curiosity. "Lady, you look sad. Do you want to hold my doll? He always makes me smile when I'm sad." The childish voice caught Emma by surprise. The little one carried a cloth doll with a faded face and visible stitching, offering it as if presenting a treasure. Emma was speechless, unaccustomed to such direct interactions devoid of hidden intentions. "Lily, don't bother the lady." The deep, calm voice came from a few meters behind. A man of about 35 approached with slow steps. He wore simple clothes, but they were clean and well kept. His eyes, though tired, reflected a serenity that Emma hadn't seen in her social circle for a long time. "Sorry for the disturbance," he said, placing his hand on the girl's shoulder. "Lily has this habit of wanting to help everyone she meets. Sometimes she forgets that not everyone wants company." Emma felt the weight of those words. Was her loneliness that visible? So transparent that even a child could perceive it. "There's no disturbance at all," she replied, surprising herself with the softness of her own voice. "Actually, I think your doll is very special." Lily smiled, revealing a missing front tooth. "His name is Petey. My dad sewed him for me when I was really little." Emma looked at the man, who seemed a bit embarrassed. "Nathan Carter," he introduced himself, extending his hand. "And you've already met Lily, my daughter." Emma shook the offered hand, noticing the calluses that spoke of manual work. "Emma Mitchell. Nice to meet you both." The conversation could have ended there, like so many passing encounters that occur in tourist places. But Lily wouldn't allow it. With the persistence that only children possess, she invited Emma to see the Christmas parade that would begin in minutes. "Come with us. It's the best parade in the world. There are angels that really fly, and a giant Santa Claus." The little girl's enthusiasm was contagious, and Emma found herself accepting the invitation without thinking twice. That spontaneous gesture went against everything her methodical and calculated lifestyle represented, but something about that night seemed to suspend the rules that governed her existence. During the parade, Lily positioned herself between Emma and Nathan, holding both their hands. From time to time she looked up, as if to ensure Emma was enjoying the spectacle as much as she was. The executive, accustomed to evaluating financial performances, found herself evaluating the sparkle in the girl's eyes with each new float that passed. Nathan, meanwhile, maintained a respectful silence, occasionally exchanging glances and polite smiles with Emma. There was something about his presence that conveyed security without imposing closeness. A rare quality, Emma thought, in a world where everyone always wanted something. After the parade, Lily insisted that Emma try the hot chocolate her father prepared at home. "It's the best in America, I'm sure," she declared with the absolute conviction of childhood. Nathan intervened gently. "Lily, the lady must have other commitments. We can't take up any more of her time." Emma hesitated. The rational part of her brain, the one that had guided her ascent in the competitive world of finance, told her to thank them and say goodbye. After all, what was she doing there, prolonging contact with two strangers? But another part, one that rarely had a voice in her decisions, felt an inexplicable reluctance to end this encounter. "Actually, I'm free tonight," she responded, surprising herself again. "I'd love to try that famous chocolate if the invitation is still open." Lily's face lit up with a smile that seemed to rival all the Christmas lights in the city. Nathan appeared momentarily surprised, but nodded with a discreet smile. "Of course it is. Our house is a bit away from the center. It's a simple place, but I'm sure it will be perfect," Emma completed, feeling a strange lightness take over as she walked beside them, leaving behind the buzz of the crowd. As they moved away from the tourist center, Emma noticed how the city changed. The impeccable facades of luxury hotels and restaurants gave way to simpler houses, some made of wood, typical of the region's settlement. The silence that had once suffocated her now seemed comfortable, filled only by Lily's enthusiastic comments about the Christmas decorations and stories from her daily life. Emma didn't know yet, but that night would mark the beginning of a journey that would transform her life in ways she could never have imagined. A journey that would lead her to question everything she had always considered important, and to rediscover parts of herself she had forgotten long ago. Nathan and Lily's house was on a small dirt road, away from Aspen's tourist center. It was a simple wooden structure, painted light blue with a small garden in front where some flowers resistant to the Rocky Mountain cold still bloomed. Emma, accustomed to sophisticated and impeccable environments, felt strangely at ease in that unpretentious space. The interior of the house was cozy, with well-preserved old furniture and small details that revealed Lily's presence. Colorful drawings attached to the refrigerator, children's books organized on a low shelf, a small corner with handcrafted toys. An environment completely different from the minimalist and functional apartment Emma maintained in New York. "Sorry about the mess," said Nathan, hurrying to collect some scattered toys. "We're not used to having visitors." "No need to worry, everything is perfect," replied Emma, realizing she was speaking the truth. There was an authenticity to that space that contrasted with the artificially perfect environment she usually frequented. In the small but organized kitchen, Nathan prepared the promised hot chocolate, while Lily showed Emma her drawings and told stories about each one. The girl's spontaneity was contagious, making Emma smile more times in an hour than she had smiled in weeks. "This is Petey," explained Lily, pointing to a colorful drawing. "And this is me. And this is Daddy. We are a family." Emma observed the drawing carefully. There were 3 stick figures, 2 larger and 1 smaller, all holding hands. A simple family, complete in its simplicity. "It's a beautiful drawing, Lily," commented Emma, feeling a pang in her chest that she couldn't identify. Nathan approached with 3 steaming mugs, the house specialty as promised. The sweet and comforting aroma filled the room. Emma accepted the mug, feeling the heat travel through the porcelain and warm her hands. The first sip confirmed Lily's promise. It was truly delicious. "This is amazing. What's the secret?" Nathan smiled, a discreet smile that lit up his eyes. "Cinnamon and a touch of black pepper. My grandmother's recipe." The conversation flowed with surprising naturalness. Nathan told how he worked as a carpenter in a small local workshop, creating custom pieces and restoring antique furniture. Lily attended the public school and loved art classes. Gradually, Emma found herself sharing fragments of her life as well, though carefully selecting what she revealed. "I work with investments in New York," she said vaguely, avoiding mentioning her position as CEO of one of the largest fund management companies in the country. "It must be very different from life here in Aspen," commented Nathan, without any judgment in his voice. "Completely different," agreed Emma. "Sometimes it seems like they're worlds that should never cross." Lily, who was playing with Petey on the living room rug, looked up. "But they crossed today, didn't they?" "You found us!" The innocent observation caught Emma off guard. Yes, worlds had crossed that night, and for some reason she couldn't explain, she felt that this intersection wasn't mere coincidence. When Emma announced she needed to return to her hotel, it was already past 10 at night. Time had slipped away without her noticing, like water between fingers. "I can walk you to the center," offered Nathan. "The streets get deserted at this hour." Emma nodded, grateful. Lily, reluctant to say goodbye, insisted that Emma return the next day. "Tomorrow we're making Christmas cookies. You have to come help us." "Lily, Emma must have other plans. She's on vacation, wants to enjoy the city," intervened Nathan, shooting an apologetic look at Emma. To her own surprise, Emma heard herself saying, "Actually, I'd love to help with the cookies, if it's not an imposition, of course." The walk back to the center was quiet, but comfortable. The Christmas lights reflected in the windows of closed shops, creating an almost magical setting. Nathan walked with his hands in his pockets, respecting Emma's space. "Lily became attached to you quickly," he commented after a few minutes. "She's usually shy with strangers, but with you it was different." Emma smiled. "She's a special child. You're doing a great job raising her." Nathan nodded, looking ahead. "I do the best I can. It's not always easy being just the two of us." Emma wanted to ask about Lily's mother, but contained her curiosity. That wasn't the moment for personal questions. Instead, she offered, "Well, tomorrow you'll have an extra helper for the cookies. I hope I don't mess things up too much." "I'm sure you'll be a great help," replied Nathan with a sincere smile. At the hotel door, they said goodbye with a brief handshake. Emma went up to her luxurious suite, feeling strangely displaced. The high thread count sheets, the minibar stocked with imported drinks, the panoramic view of the illuminated city. Everything seemed excessively elaborate after the welcoming simplicity of Nathan and Lily's home. Lying in bed, Emma relived the events of that unexpected night. The images of Lily smiling, of Nathan preparing hot chocolate, of the simple but cozy house mixed in her mind, creating a stark contrast with the life she led in New York. The next day, true to her word, Emma returned to the Blue House. She was greeted by an exuberant Lily, wearing an improvised apron and with flour already spread across her face. Nathan seemed slightly surprised to see her, as if he hadn't really believed she would return. The cookie-making afternoon was chaotic and perfectly imperfect. Emma, accustomed to delegating tasks and supervising results, found herself with her hands in the dough, literally, following Lily's enthusiastic instructions and Nathan's practical advice. They laughed when the first batches came out crooked, celebrated when they finally got it right, and spent hours decorating the Christmas shapes with colored icing. "I've never made cookies before," confessed Emma, observing her awkward creation. "Never?" Lily seemed genuinely shocked. "Not even when you were little like me?" Emma shook her head. "Not even when I was little. My mother wasn't much into cooking, and we always had staff who did those things." "How sad," declared Lily with the brutal frankness of children. "Making cookies is the best part of Christmas," Nathan intervened gently. "Each family has its own traditions, Lily. And look, Emma is making cookies now, with us." The observation lit up the girl's face. "That's true. Now you know how to make them." That afternoon marked the beginning of a routine that established itself in the following days. Emma, who had initially planned to stay only 3 days in Aspen, extended her stay at the hotel. Each day brought a new activity: walks around Maroon Lake, visits to Miniature World, afternoons at the cinema watching Christmas movies. Nathan tried to refuse when Emma insisted on paying for tickets or meals, but she found subtle ways to make him accept, respecting his pride. Lily flourished in Emma's presence, eagerly absorbing stories about New York, about international travels, about a world so different from her own. Nathan, initially reserved, also began to open up, gradually revealing fragments of his life, his deferred dreams, his daily struggles. A week passed, then 2. Christmas was approaching, and Emma knew she would soon need to return to New York for the end-of-year meetings, for the financial reports and forecasts for the next quarter. The idea of leaving Aspen, of leaving Lily and Nathan, caused a growing discomfort in her. On a particularly cold night, while Lily slept and Nathan and Emma talked on the small porch of the house, protected from the wind by an improvised screen, he finally asked, "When do you go back to New York?" The question hung in the air like a snowflake, delicate but inevitably destined to fall. "In 2 days," replied Emma, feeling the weight of each word. "I have unavoidable commitments at the end of the year." Nathan nodded, showing neither surprise nor disappointment. "Lily will miss you." The silence that followed was loaded with unspoken words. Emma wanted to say that she would miss them too, that the last few weeks had been the most meaningful in years, that the idea of returning to her previous life now seemed strangely empty. but the words remained stuck in her throat, entangled by years of self-discipline and emotional control. The eve of Emma's departure for New York arrived faster than she would have liked. During breakfast at her hotel, she compulsively checked emails and messages she had ignored for the past few weeks. Dozens of notifications demanded her immediate attention. Projects awaiting approval, pending acquisitions, invitations to year-end events. The reality of her life in New York now seemed to belong to someone else, as if the executive Emma and the Emma who made Christmas cookies with Lily were two different women. Her cell phone rang, displaying the name of Michael Vaughan, her financial director. Emma hesitated for a moment before answering. "Emma, finally! We're all worried. You practically disappeared off the map." "I'm on vacation, Michael. I thought I made that clear." "Vacation, yes, but not complete disappearance. We have the board meeting tomorrow, remember? And the press conference about the merger with the Almeida Group. The investors are anxious." Emma closed her eyes, feeling the familiar pressure returning to her shoulders like a heavy mantle. "I'll be there tomorrow night, as planned. The meeting is only on Monday." "Emma, you need to review the numbers before. Richard is waiting for your approval for the presentation, and there's dinner with the Japanese on Sunday. They specifically insisted on your presence." The conversation continued for almost half an hour, with Michael detailing each urgent commitment awaiting her. When she finally hung up, Emma felt a headache settling in her temples. The idea of returning to the frantic routine now seemed more suffocating than ever. That afternoon, Emma headed for the last time to the blue wooden house. She had bought presents, a professional set of colored pencils for Lily, something the girl had admired in a shop window during one of their walks, and a high-quality carpentry toolbox for Nathan. Expensive gifts, but ones she hoped would be seen for what they truly were. A gesture of gratitude, not ostentation. Lily received the pencils with wide eyes of admiration, but the true joy came when Emma announced that she had reserved her enrollment in a children's art course at the city's cultural center. Nathan tried to refuse, mentioning the costs, but Emma was firm. "It's a gift. Please let me do this." For Nathan, beyond the tools, Emma offered something more, an exhibition of his work in the gallery of a sophisticated hotel in New York. She had contacts, she explained. His pieces deserved to be seen by a larger audience. "I can't accept this," he said, clearly uncomfortable. "The tools are already too much." "It's not charity, Nathan. It's recognition. I've seen your work. I know how talented you are. I'm just opening a door. You'll still have to walk through it on your own." The tension between them was palpable. Emma realized she had made a mistake by offering something that, in her view, was an opportunity, but which for Nathan represented a kind of intrusion into his world, a reminder of the social differences between them. "I'm sorry," she finally said. "I didn't mean to offend. I just wanted to help." Nathan's gaze softened. "I know, and I appreciate the intention, but some things need to happen naturally at the right time." Lily, oblivious to the tension between the adults, insisted that Emma see the drawing she had made, especially for her. It was a colorful representation of three people holding hands. A woman with brown hair wearing elegant clothes, a tall bearded man, and a small girl between them. Below, in childish handwriting, was written, "My family." Emma felt a lump in her throat. "It's beautiful, Lily." "It's you, me, and Daddy," explained the girl with simplicity. "You'll come back soon, won't you? For Christmas." The innocent question hit Emma like a blow. Christmas was only 5 days away. She had corporate dinners scheduled, a lightning trip to Chicago planned, commitments she couldn't simply cancel. I'll try, Lily, but my work in New York is very demanding. I can't always choose when I can travel." The girl's face visibly wilted. "But it's Christmas. Everyone comes home for Christmas." Home. The word echoed in Emma's mind. When was the last time she felt she had a place to call home? Her apartment in New York was more a functional space than a home. Luxurious, impeccable, but devoid of any real warmth. "I'll do my best," she promised, knowing her words sounded empty even to herself. The farewell was painful. Lily hugged Emma tightly, as if trying to physically prevent her from leaving. Nathan maintained a respectful distance, but his eyes conveyed a message that Emma couldn't fully decipher. There was sadness there, certainly, but also something more, a kind of resignation, perhaps, as if he had expected this outcome from the beginning. "Thank you for everything," he said, extending his hand. "You've brought a lot of joy to Lily these weeks." Emma ignored the extended hand and hugged him briefly. "I'm the one who should thank you. You reminded me of things I had forgotten." On the way back to the hotel, Emma felt the tears she had contained finally overflow. She hadn't cried like this since... Since when? She couldn't even remember. Years, perhaps. She had trained herself so well to keep emotions under control, to be the strong and unwavering woman that the corporate world demanded, that she had forgotten what it was like to feel truly vulnerable. The next morning, Emma boarded the flight to New York. As the aircraft took off, she looked out the window at the green mountains of the Rockies disappearing beneath the clouds, feeling torn between two worlds. New York received her with its usual frenzy. Her private driver awaited her at the airport, taking her directly to her apartment in Tribeca. The spacious and minimalist space, with its straight lines and neutral colors, now seemed strangely cold and impersonal. There were no drawings on the refrigerator, toys scattered on the floor, or the aroma of hot chocolate in the air. She barely had time to unpack before her cell phone began to ring incessantly. Meetings were rescheduled to accommodate her, documents sent for immediate review, urgent decisions awaited her approval. Emma dove into work as she always did, with methodical efficiency, but a part of her remained in Aspen, in the little blue house. In the days that followed, Emma maintained contact with Lily and Nathan through messages and video calls. The girl showed her drawings, told about her art classes, asked when Emma would return. Nathan remained more reserved, appearing briefly to greet her before giving privacy for Lily to talk. Life in New York followed its predictable course. The board meeting was a success, with Emma presenting impressive results for the last quarter. Dinner with the Japanese investors resulted in a promising partnership. The specialized press praised her leadership in the recent merger. Externally, everything seemed perfect. Emma Mitchell, the relentless executive, was back at the top of her game. But internally, something had changed. Emma caught herself daydreaming during important meetings, thinking of Lily's laugh or Nathan's tranquil gaze. She found herself questioning decisions that once seemed obvious, considering perspectives she would have dismissed without hesitation a few weeks ago. Her personal assistant, Ryan, noticed the change, but wisely chose not to comment. On Christmas Eve, Emma was in her office finalizing some documents before the recess. The building was practically empty. Most employees had already left to celebrate with their families. Ryan knocked softly at the door, bringing the next week's schedule for approval. "Everything is in order, Ryan, thank you. Aren't you going home? It's already past 8. Emma looked up from the documents. "Soon. I just need to finish this." Ryan hesitated. Unusual behavior for the always efficient assistant. "If I may, there's a matter I'd like to discuss." "Of course, what is it?" "The reservation for Chicago, Mr. Vaughn suggested that you leave tomorrow afternoon itself, to be present at the meeting with the Americans on the 26th. Should I confirm?" Emma felt something break inside her. Tomorrow was Christmas. She had promised Lily she would try to return. She knew it would be difficult, that there were commitments, but the idea of spending the day on a plane, flying to yet another meeting that could probably be conducted by video conference, suddenly seemed absurd. "No, Ryan. Cancel the trip." "Cancel, but Mr. Vaughn insisted that—" "Cancel," repeated Emma firmly, "and reorganize my entire schedule for the next 2 weeks. I'll be working remotely." Ryan blinked, surprised. "May I ask from where you'll be working?" A small smile appeared on Emma's lips, the first genuine one since she had returned to New York. "From Aspen. I'm going to spend Christmas there." A few hours later, Emma was driving to the airport, a small suitcase in the back seat, and a feeling of lightness she hadn't experienced in years. She had made an impulsive decision, something completely out of character for her, but which, paradoxically, seemed more authentic than anything she had done in recent times. During the flight, she reflected on what she was doing. It wasn't just about spending Christmas with Lily and Nathan. It was about making a choice that wasn't based on spreadsheets, projections, or corporate expectations. A choice that came from a deeper, truer place. Denver Airport was decorated with Christmas lights and filled with hurried people, carrying presents and hugging family members. Emma picked up a rental car and began the ascent into the mountains toward Aspen, feeling her heart accelerate with each mile that brought her closer to the small town. The winding road, normally a source of tension for her, now seemed like a path to something precious. It was already past midnight when Emma finally arrived in Aspen. The city was quiet, with Christmas decorations softly glowing in the cold night. She drove directly to her hotel, where she had hastily made a reservation before leaving New York. She needed to rest and plan how to surprise Lily and Nathan the next morning. In her room, Emma checked once more the presents she had bought in a rush: a telescope for Lily, who had shown interest in stars during their night walks, and a rare book on traditional carpentry techniques for Nathan. She had also acquired a small artificial Christmas tree and various ornaments, determined to create a special celebration. While organizing everything, her cell phone rang. It was Michael, probably wanting to question her decision to cancel the Chicago trip. Emma hesitated but answered. "Emma, what's this story about not going to Chicago? The Americans are counting on your presence. It's the biggest contract of the year." "Good evening to you too, Michael," she replied, keeping her voice calm. "We've already talked about this. Richard can represent me perfectly. He knows all the details of the project." "It's not the same thing, and you know it. They want you, Emma. You're the CEO, for God's sake." "And as CEO, I'm delegating. I'll be available by video conference if absolutely necessary. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's Christmas Eve and I'm tired." "Where are you anyway? Ryan mentioned something about Aspen. What the hell are you doing there again?" Emma took a deep breath. "I'm taking a vacation, Michael. Something I haven't really done in more than 5 years. Merry Christmas." She hung up before he could protest again. She then silenced the phone and put it aside. Tomorrow she would deal with the consequences of her choices. At that moment, she just wanted to sleep and dream about the day to come. On Christmas morning, Emma woke up early. After a quick breakfast, she decorated her room with the small tree and ornaments, creating a festive environment. Then she carefully wrapped the presents and set off toward Nathan and Lily's house. The sky was clear, with the winter sun shining over the decorated city. Emma drove slowly, enjoying the sight of the decorated houses and families already beginning to gather for the day's celebrations. When she finally parked in front of the familiar blue house, she felt a mixture of anxiety and expectation. Carrying the presents and a basket with ingredients for a special lunch, Emma walked to the door and rang the bell. Seconds later, she heard hurried footsteps and Lily's animated voice. "Daddy, there's someone at the door. Could it be Santa Claus running late?" The door opened, and Lily's face transformed into pure joy when she recognized Emma. Without hesitation, the girl threw herself into her arms. "Emma, you came back! You really came back!" Emma hugged Lily tightly, feeling a lump in her throat. "Merry Christmas, Princess. A promise is a promise." Nathan appeared right behind, with an expression of genuine surprise. "Emma, we weren't expecting you." "Surprise," she said with a shy smile. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything." "Interrupting? You're saving Christmas," exclaimed Lily, hopping with joy. "Isn't that right, Daddy? Now it's a real Christmas." Nathan smiled, his eyes reflecting an emotion that Emma couldn't completely name. "Absolutely. Come in, please. It's cold out there." The interior of the house was modestly decorated for Christmas, with a small tree in the corner of the living room and some handcrafted wreaths. Lily pulled Emma by the hand, eager to show the drawings she had made during her absence and her progress in art classes. "And look what Daddy made for me." Lily pointed to a wooden dollhouse, intricately detailed, with miniature furniture that faithfully reproduced those of the real house. "It's amazing, Nathan," commented Emma, admiring the craftsmanship. "You really have a gift." He shrugged, but Emma noticed the pride in his eyes. "It was a special project." Emma then revealed that she had brought presents and ingredients for a Christmas lunch. "I thought we could cook together. I'm no expert, but I brought a turkey recipe that seems simple enough." Nathan laughed, the sound surprisingly light and relaxed. Coming from someone who had never made cookies until a few weeks ago, that's brave. The morning passed in an atmosphere of contagious joy. Lily opened her present with exclamations of wonder, immediately asking to set up the telescope. Nathan received the book with visible emotion, leafing through the pages with reverence. Must have been hard to find." "I have my contacts," joked Emma, feeling absurdly happy to see his reaction. The lunch preparation turned into a hilarious adventure. Emma quickly discovered that following a recipe was much more complicated than it seemed, especially when she had a 6-year-old as her main assistant. Nathan watched with amusement, intervening only when disaster seemed imminent. "I never thought I'd see Emma Mitchell with flour in her hair and sauce stains on her blouse," he commented, helping her save the mashed potatoes that threatened to turn into glue. "There are many things about me you still don't know," she replied with an enigmatic smile. The lunch, despite the mishaps in preparation, was delicious. Seated at the simple table, decorated with candles and Lily's drawings, they ate, laughed, and shared stories. For Emma, it was a new and precious experience. Christmas in her family had always been a formal event, with elegant dinners where etiquette mattered more than connection. In recent years, the date usually found her at some exclusive resort, alone or surrounded by colleagues disguised as friends. After the meal, while Lily played with her presents, Emma and Nathan sat on the porch, enjoying the weak afternoon sun. A comfortable silence established itself between them, broken only by the occasional sounds of joy coming from inside the house. "Thank you for coming back," Nathan finally said. "It meant a lot to Lily." "And to you?" The question escaped before Emma could contain it. Nathan looked at her, his eyes reflecting the same tranquility that had impressed her since their first meeting. "It meant a lot to me, too. More than I expected." There was a disarming honesty in those simple words. Emma felt her heart accelerate, a sensation she hadn't experienced in a long time. Without thinking, she covered Nathan's hand with hers. He didn't pull away. "May I ask something personal?" she said after a few moments. "Sure. Lily, you mentioned she's not your biological daughter. How did she come to be with you?" Nathan took a deep breath, as if gathering strength for a difficult story. "It happened 5 years ago. I had just moved to Aspen, trying to restart my life after losing everything I had in Denver. My carpentry business failed. My marriage ended. I was practically starting from zero." He paused, his eyes fixed on the distant mountains. "One night, returning home after a long day of work, I found a bundle at my door. I thought it was trash, but when I approached, there she was, a baby just over a year old sleeping, wrapped in an old blanket. There was a note that simply said, 'Please don't reject her. Her name is Lily.'" Emma felt a chill run down her spine. "You didn't look for the mother?" "Of course I did. I went to the police immediately. They investigated but never found anything. No trace of the biological mother, no record of a missing child that matched Lily's description. It was as if she had simply appeared." "And you decided to keep her?" Nathan nodded. "At first it was supposed to be temporary, just until they found a family to adopt her. But days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and, well, at some point I realized I couldn't separate from her anymore. So I made the adoption official." "That's extraordinary, Nathan. Many would have simply handed the child over to the authorities and moved on with their lives." He shrugged. "I don't feel extraordinary. I just did what seemed right." The conversation was interrupted by Lily, who came running to show a new drawing. Emma noticed that once again the drawing showed 3 figures, a man, a woman, and a child, a family. When Lily went back inside, Emma felt it was her turn to share something personal. "I have a story to tell too." Nathan looked at her with genuine interest, without pressure or expectation. 8 years ago, I was at the peak of my career. I had just been promoted to executive director of the company, the youngest in the company's history. I was engaged to Edward, a brilliant lawyer I met in college. We had what magazines call a perfect relationship. Emma paused, feeling the weight of memories she rarely shared. I discovered I was pregnant. It wasn't planned, but I was happy. Really happy. Edward too, at least in the beginning. Then the comments started. How I would manage a pregnancy with my workload, how it would affect my image before the board, how difficult it would be to maintain my position while caring for a baby. She took a deep breath. In the 4th month, I started having complications. The doctors recommended absolute rest, time off work. I refused. I had an important merger underway, millions at stake. I thought I could manage everything. Nathan remained silent, just listening, his eyes conveying an understanding that Emma rarely encountered. I lost the baby in the 5th month. The doctor said it was due to stress, overwork. Edward blamed me. We broke up a few weeks later. I immersed myself even more in work, built the image of the relentless executive. People forgot that I was once pregnant, that I almost became a mother. I tried to forget, too. But you couldn't, Nathan completed softly. No, admitted Emma. That's why Lily's drawing affected me so much. That box with baby clothes I mentioned, they were the only things I bought for my child. I never could get rid of them. A solitary tear ran down Emma's face. Nathan gently wiped it away with his thumb, the touch as light as a breeze. We're more similar than it seems at first glance, he commented. Both carrying losses, both trying to rebuild something from the pieces. Emma smiled sadly. The difference is that you made something beautiful with your pieces. I just hid mine under awards and professional recognition. It's never too late to start again. The simple phrase resonated deeply with Emma. Never too late. The word seemed like an invitation, a possibility she had discarded long ago. Lily reappeared, asking to use the new telescope. The three went out to the small garden, where Nathan helped set up the equipment while Emma held the flashlight. Together, they observed the stars, with Lily asking incessant questions about constellations and planets. It was an everyday scene, simple, the kind of moment that thousands of families experience without realizing its preciousness. For Emma, however, it represented something she had never experienced, the feeling of belonging, of being part of something greater than her own ambitions. The following day after Christmas dawned with a thin layer of frost covering Aspen, despite it being winter on the calendar. Emma woke up early in her hotel room feeling a renewed energy. She had made a decision during the night. After hours of tossing and turning in bed, thinking about everything she had shared with Nathan and the possibilities that were opening before her. After a quick coffee, she drove to Nathan and Lily's house. The girl was still in her pajamas when she opened the door, greeting Emma with an enthusiastic hug. Nathan was preparing pancakes in the small kitchen, the sweet aroma permeating the environment. You arrived just in time for breakfast, he commented with a smile. Emma accepted the invitation to join them, observing the naturalness with which she already fit into their domestic routine. After the meal, while Lily was drawing at the table, Emma finally shared what she had decided. I've extended my stay for 2 more weeks, she announced. I'll be in Aspen until mid-January. Lily's face lit up with pure joy. 2 whole weeks. We can do so many things together. Nathan seemed surprised but visibly pleased. And your work? I thought you needed to go back soon. I'll work remotely, explained Emma. Some video conference meetings, some important decisions I can't postpone. But the rest can wait. What Emma didn't mention was the long conversation she had with Ryan that morning. Her faithful assistant had been shocked when she asked to cancel practically all her in-person commitments for the next few weeks, but didn't question it. Michael, on the other hand, had been furious, threatening to take the matter to the board. Emma, however, was surprisingly calm about this possibility. For the first time in years, she didn't feel that her identity depended exclusively on her position. The 2 weeks that followed were the happiest that Emma could remember in her adult life. They established a comfortable routine. Emma worked during the mornings at the hotel while Lily was at school. In the afternoon, they met for walks, games, or simply to be together. Nathan, who usually worked at home in his small workshop in the back, frequently joined them. On a particularly cold afternoon, while Lily was at a friend's house for a school project, Emma was helping Nathan organize his workshop. He had received a large order, furniture for a new restaurant in the city center, an important opportunity to expand his business. I never imagined I would be helping a carpenter sand wood, commented Emma with a smile, passing sandpaper over a pine board. My manicurist would have a fit. Nathan laughed. You adapt surprisingly well to new things. I think I never really had the chance to try before. My life always followed such a predetermined path. They worked in silence for a few minutes, the only sound being that of the sandpaper against the wood and the occasional trilling of birds outside. Emma, Nathan finally said, putting his tool aside, there's something I need to ask you. She stopped what she was doing, noting the seriousness in his voice. Of course. What happens when these 2 weeks are over? You go back to New York to your life and this ends? The question hung between them, loaded with implications. Emma felt her heart accelerate. I don't want it to end, she admitted, the words coming out almost as a whisper. In the last few days, I've been thinking a lot about what I really want from my life, and I realize that for years, I've confused success with happiness. Nathan took a step toward her. And what do you want now? I want the chance to build something real, something that can't be measured in quarterly profits or evaluated in annual reports. Emma took a deep breath. I'm considering opening a company office here in Aspen, a branch. I could divide my time between here and New York, at least initially. Nathan's expression softened. That would mean a lot to Lily. She's become very attached to you. Only to Lily? Asked Emma, gathering courage to face the truth that had been growing between them. Nathan smiled, that sincere smile that lit up his eyes. No, not just to Lily. The moment was interrupted by the ring of Emma's cell phone. She ignored it initially, but when it continued insistently, she apologized and answered. It was Ryan, his voice tense and worried. Emma, we have a problem. A big problem. What happened? It's the board. Michael called an extraordinary meeting for tomorrow. They're voting to remove you from your position. Emma felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. What do you mean? He doesn't have the authority for that. He convinced 4 of the 7 members. He's alleging negligence, abandonment of critical functions. Emma, the merger with the Americans almost failed without your presence. Richard managed to save it, but there were significant losses. Michael is using this against you. I understand, said Emma, her mind racing. I'll be on the first flight tomorrow. Upon hanging up, she found Nathan looking at her with concern. Problems? Emma quickly explained the situation. Nathan listened in silence, his face a mask of calm, but Emma noticed the tension in his shoulders. I need to return to New York immediately. I can't lose everything I've built like this, not this way. Of course, he replied with a neutral voice, you need to defend what's yours. Something in the way he said it made Emma pause. Nathan, this doesn't change anything we talked about. It's just a crisis I need to resolve. You don't need to explain, Emma. I understand perfectly. But his tone said otherwise. Emma felt a tightness in her chest, realizing how the news had instantly erected a barrier between them. She wanted to say more, to explain better, but at that moment Lily came running into the workshop, full of stories about her day. The farewell, a few hours later, was painful. Lily cried, clinging to Emma, not understanding why she needed to leave so suddenly. Nathan remained reserved, helping the girl calm down but avoiding prolonged eye contact with Emma. I'll be back soon, I promise, said Emma, hugging Lily one last time. There's just a work problem I need to solve. Do you really promise? Asked the girl between sobs. I promise. When she finally turned to Nathan, Emma felt the weight of the unspoken between them. I'll call you as soon as I get there, she offered, feeling the inadequacy of the words. He nodded, still not really looking her in the eyes. Safe travels. I hope you solve your problems. On the way to the airport, Emma fought against a growing feeling that she was making a mistake. But what could she do? Abandon everything she had built over so many years? Her company, her career, her legacy? The idea seemed absurd. New York received her with its characteristic humid summer heat, a shocking contrast to the mountain cold of Aspen. Emma went directly to her apartment, where Ryan awaited her with a pile of documents and a worried countenance. The board meets at 9 in the morning. Michael has 4 guaranteed votes. We need to reverse at least 2. Emma spent the entire night studying documents, preparing arguments, calling allies. When she finally arrived at the company headquarters the next morning, she felt exhausted but determined. The meeting was tense, with accusations being launched and passionate defenses from both sides. In the end, Emma managed to keep her position, but by a narrow margin. It became clear that her position was fragile. After the meeting in her office, Emma faced the panoramic view of New York with new eyes. The city that had always represented success and achievement now seemed strangely empty. Her cell phone vibrated, a message from Lily asking when she would return. Emma felt a lump in her throat. She was interrupted by Michael, who entered without knocking. His face betrayed poorly disguised irritation. You made it this time, Emma. Congratulations. But know that I'm watching. One more slip and there won't be a second chance. Emma stared at him coldly. Thank you for your concern, Michael. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a company to run. After his exit, Emma remained motionless for a few moments. Then she took the phone and called Nathan. The call went to voicemail. She tried again with the same result. She sent a message explaining that she had managed to resolve the situation and asking how they were. She received no response. The following days were a whirlwind of activities. Emma dove into work, trying to regain full control of the company and restore the board's confidence. She continued trying to contact Nathan and Lily, but the responses, when they came, were brief and distant. Lily eventually answered a video call, but she seemed sad, without the usual sparkle in her eyes. Nathan rarely appeared in these conversations. 2 weeks passed like this, with Emma divided between her responsibilities in New York and the growing sense of loss regarding Aspen. Then, on a cold Thursday morning, Ryan entered her office with a strange expression. "Emma, there's someone here who insists on seeing you, says it's urgent. Who is it?" "A lady named Regina Allensworth. Says she came from Aspen, especially to speak with you." Emma didn't recognize the name, but the mention of Aspen made her heart leap. "You can send her in." Moments later, an elegant woman of about 60 entered. She had perfectly arranged grey hair and penetrating blue eyes that examined Emma with intensity. "Thank you for receiving me, Miss Mitchell. I know you must be busy. How can I help you, Miss Allensworth?" The woman sat down, carefully adjusting her purse on her lap. "I've come to talk about Lily." Emma felt her body tense. "Lily? Did something happen to her?" "Not exactly, but something will happen if we don't act quickly." Regina took a deep breath. "Ms. Mitchell, what do you know about Lily's origin?" "Only what Nathan told me, that he found her abandoned at his door when she was a baby." Regina nodded slowly. "Yes, that's the story he knows. But there's more. Much more." Emma waited, feeling a growing uneasiness. "I'm a retired social worker. I worked for 30 years in the Colorado adoption system. I met Nathan when he initiated the process to legally adopt Lily. I helped with the procedures, ensuring everything was done correctly." "I don't understand. Why are you telling me this now?" Regina looked directly into Emma's eyes. "Because I recently discovered something about Lily that changes everything. Something that Nathan doesn't know yet, but will soon know. And when that happens, he's going to need all the support possible." "What are you talking about?" "Lily's biological mother has been found. She's alive, in good health, and wants her daughter back." The words hit Emma like a physical blow. "How? After 5 years?" "Apparently, she didn't abandon Lily voluntarily. There were circumstances. Now she's stable, has the means, and has hired lawyers to claim custody." "But is that possible? Legally?" Regina sighed. "Unfortunately, yes. Lily's adoption was never completely finalized because we could never declare official abandonment without identifying the biological parents. Nathan only has temporary custody, although in practice, he has been the only father Lily has known." Emma felt a wave of nausea. "When will Nathan know about this?" "Tomorrow. There's a preliminary hearing scheduled. I came to you because Lily doesn't stop talking about your name. In her drawings at school, in conversations, in everything. You've become important to her, and I believe she's important to you too." Emma didn't respond immediately, her mind processing the implications of that revelation. Finally, she faced Regina with determination. "What can I do to help?" The private jet that Emma hastily chartered landed at Denver Airport shortly after 7 in the morning. She hadn't slept, spending the entire night on the phone with lawyers specializing in family law, seeking to fully understand the situation and possible alternatives. Regina accompanied her, providing precious details about Lily's case. "The hearing is scheduled for 10 o'clock, informed Regina as they boarded the waiting car. "Nathan is probably already on his way to the courthouse." Emma nodded, trying to organize her thoughts. She wore an elegant suit, but had opted for softer colors than she would normally wear in corporate meetings. She didn't want to intimidate, just demonstrate seriousness and commitment. "What do we know about the biological mother?" she asked, looking out the window at the landscape that gradually changed as they ascended the mountains toward Aspen. Regina consulted a folder she was carrying. "Rebecca Parker, 29 years old. She was very young when she had Lily, only 23. According to the new documents she presented, she was in an abusive relationship at the time. The child's father kept her practically in private captivity. When Lily was a year old, Rebecca managed to escape, but had to leave her daughter behind temporarily, planning to retrieve her as soon as she was safe." "And why did she leave Lily with Nathan?" Did they know each other? No. Apparently she chose his house at random. She had observed that he was a solitary man, but of trustworthy appearance, a desperate act of a mother in an extreme situation. Emma absorbed the information in silence. It was a tragic story, which complicated the situation even more. It wasn't simply a mother who had abandoned her daughter and now wanted her back. It was a woman who had made an impossible choice in desperate circumstances. And now? What happened to the biological father? He's in prison for other crimes. He no longer represents a threat. Rebecca rebuilt her life, has a stable job as a nurse in Boulder, remarried. She seems to have the material and emotional conditions to raise Lily. But Lily doesn't know her, argued Emma, feeling a pang of anguish. Nathan is the only family she has, Regina sighed. Legally, that complicates things. Nathan was never officially her adoptive father. He only has temporary custody. And now that the biological mother has appeared, claiming rights and with a plausible explanation for the abandonment, she didn't need to complete the sentence. Emma perfectly understood what was at stake. She took a deep breath, trying to control the anxiety growing in her chest. I need to see Nathan before the hearing. Regina checked her watch. We can try, but time is short. Emma took her cell phone and tried to call Nathan again. This time, to her surprise, he answered. Emma. His voice sounded exhausted, laden with contained emotion. Nathan, I'm on my way to Aspen. I know about the hearing. Regina Allensworth told me everything. A momentary silence. How did you? It doesn't matter now. Where are you? We need to talk before the hearing. At home, I'm preparing to leave. Lily is at school. I haven't told her anything yet. I'll be there in 20 minutes. When they finally arrived at the familiar blue house, Emma felt a wave of contradictory emotions. Nathan opened the door before they even knocked, his face marked by sleepless nights and constant worry. Thank you for coming, he said simply, giving space for them to enter. Regina briefly hugged Nathan, murmuring words of encouragement. Emma waited for them to separate before approaching. There was so much to say, so many unprocessed emotions between them, but that wasn't the moment. I hired the best lawyers specializing in family law, she informed, keeping her voice calm and practical. They'll be at the courthouse to represent you. Nathan blinked, confused. Emma, I don't have the means to pay lawyers of that level. I'm not asking you to pay, I'm offering help. I can't accept this. Emma looked at him directly. You can and you will. It's not for you, Nathan, it's for Lily. The mention of his daughter broke something inside him. His shoulders fell, and for the first time since Emma had met him, she saw true vulnerability in his eyes. They're going to take her from me, aren't they? After 5 years, they're simply going to take her away. Emma stepped forward, holding his hands in hers. Not if we can still do something about it. But we need to go now. The hearing starts in less than an hour. The family court was a modest building in downtown Aspen. When they arrived, a small group of lawyers was already waiting for them at the entrance, the team Emma had mobilized during the night. Nathan looked at them with a mixture of gratitude and discomfort, still not entirely at ease with the level of assistance Emma was providing. In the inner lobby, Emma noticed a young woman sitting on one of the benches, accompanied by a man in a suit. Although she had never seen her before, she instinctively knew it was Rebecca Parker. There was something in her eyes, the same intense expression that Emma recognized in Lily. The hearing was conducted behind closed doors. The judge, a middle-aged man with a compassionate expression, first heard Rebecca's lawyers. They presented documents, medical reports, and even police testimonies that corroborated her story of abuse and desperate escape. It was a solid, emotionally impactful case. When it was time for Nathan's defense, his lawyers argued about the bond formed over 5 years of living together, the trauma that separation would cause Lily, and the stable and loving environment that Nathan provided. They presented school reports, testimonies from neighbors and friends, and photographs that documented the girl's happy life. At one point, the judge asked to hear directly from Nathan. He stood up, visibly nervous, but with a silent dignity that Emma had always admired. Mr. Carter, do you understand that Ms. Parker's situation was extremely difficult when she left her daughter in your care? Nathan nodded. Yes, Your Honor. I never judged the circumstances. I only concerned myself with giving Lily the best possible home. And do you recognize the rights of the biological mother now that she is in a position to resume her maternal duties? Nathan took a deep breath. I recognize that she has rights, but I also believe that Lily has the right not to have her life completely destabilized overnight. The judge asked a few more questions before turning to Rebecca, who responded with evident emotion about her desire to recover her daughter and make up for the lost years. At the end of the hearing, the judge announced that he would need time to consider all aspects of the case before making a decision. He scheduled a new hearing for the following week, where Lily would be heard by a team of court psychologists. Until then, he concluded, custody remains with Mr. Carter, but I order supervised visits for Ms. Parker so that Lily can gradually begin to know her biological mother. As they left the room, Emma noticed that Rebecca was staring fixedly at Nathan as if she wanted to say something. Finally, the young woman approached, hesitant. Mr. Carter, may I speak with you for a moment? Nathan seemed surprised but nodded. Emma made a move to step away to give them privacy, but Nathan lightly touched her arm, a silent request for her to stay. I want you to know, Rebecca began, her voice trembling with emotion, that I never, not for a second, forgot about Lily. Every day I thought about her, imagined how she was doing, if she was happy, safe. Nathan maintained a serious countenance, but his eyes showed understanding. I believe you. And I always spoke well of her mother to Lily, even without knowing you. I said there must have been an important reason for what happened. The words seemed to surprise Rebecca, who blinked to contain her tears. Thank you for that, and thank you for taking care of her when I couldn't. An emotion-laden silence established itself between them. Emma observed the two. Both clearly loved Lily. Both wanted the best for her. There was pain in that situation, but also the possibility of something that transcended the legal conflict. Why not start getting to know Lily gradually, suggested Emma, surprising herself with the intervention. Even before the official visits, Nathan could introduce you as a friend first, without pressure, without immediate expectations. Allow Lily to get used to your presence naturally. Rebecca and Nathan looked at Emma with identical expressions of surprise. Would that be possible? Asked Rebecca, hope tinging her voice. Nathan considered for a moment. Yes, it could work. Lily is perceptive, but she's also open and affectionate. If it's gradual, it might be less traumatic for her, regardless of what the court decides. The days that followed were a delicate dance of emotions and adaptations. As agreed, Rebecca was introduced to Lily as a friend of Nathan's. The girl, with her usual curiosity, asked many questions but accepted the new presence in her life with the openness characteristic of childhood. Emma remained in Aspen, again staying at the hotel, but spending most of her time at Nathan's house, offering silent support. Her presence created a balance in the dynamic, allowing Nathan and Rebecca to focus on Lily without the constant tension of direct confrontation. On a particularly cold night, while Lily slept and Rebecca had already returned to her hotel, Emma and Nathan sat on the porch, sharing a comfortable silence. Thank you, he finally said, for everything you've done. Not just the lawyers, but the way you've helped with Lily, with Rebecca, creating bridges instead of walls. Emma smiled softly. It's strange. I spent my life building walls around myself, protecting myself, isolating myself. And now here I am, discovering that building bridges brings much more satisfaction. Nathan covered her hand with his. I've been thinking a lot about what you said before leaving for New York, about wanting to build something real. I've been thinking about that too, admitted Emma. Actually, I've made some important decisions in the last few days. What kind of decisions? I'm stepping away from the company presidency. Nathan stared at her, shocked. What? But you fought so hard to keep your position. I did, yes, and I realized I was fighting for the wrong reasons. I'm not completely abandoning the company. I'm still the largest shareholder and will remain on the board. But I've appointed Ryan as the new CEO. He's more than prepared to take over. And what will you do? Emma took a deep breath, feeling strangely light as she shared her plans. I'm going to implement that idea I mentioned. Open a regional office here, but more than that, I'm going to start a social project. A social project? Yes, something I've been thinking about since I met you and Lily. A foundation to support non-conventional families, single parents, adoptive families, children in vulnerable situations. Nathan's eyes shone with understanding. Like Lily, exactly. It's called One More Mother. Nathan gently squeezed her hand. It's perfect. And I want you and Rebecca to be the first beneficiaries of the program. What do you mean? Emma smiled. I've been talking with Rebecca over the last few days. She doesn't want to take Lily away from you, Nathan. She realized how connected you are, how essential you are in her life. What she wants is to be part of her daughter's life too. Would that be possible? Legally? With the right lawyers, yes. We're working on a shared custody agreement. Rebecca would continue living in Boulder, but would have Lily during part of the school vacations and some weekends. The rest of the time, Lily would remain with you in her normal routine. Nathan seemed almost stunned by the possibility, and Rebecca agreed to this. It was her idea, actually. After seeing how happy Lily is here with you, she realized that tearing the girl away from this environment would be cruel. Rebecca wants to be a mother, not cause trauma. Tears shone in Nathan's eyes. I don't know what to say. It seemed so impossible a few days ago. Sometimes the solution isn't in fighting against each other, but in finding a path where everyone can walk together. At the final hearing a week later, the judge was visibly impressed with the agreement presented by the parties. Lily, who had been gently prepared to understand that Rebecca was her biological mother, showed enthusiasm for the idea of having one more mother in her life, without losing the security of her routine with her father. This type of amicable resolution is exactly what we hope to see more frequently in family cases, commented the judge as he endorsed the agreement. The child's well-being must always be the highest priority. As they left the courthouse, Lily ran ahead, holding Rebecca and Nathan's hands, skipping between them. Emma observed the scene with a smile when the girl looked back. Emma, come too. Let's get ice cream to celebrate. Emma approached, feeling a strange shyness. Lily immediately released Rebecca's hand to take Emma's. Now, declared the girl with satisfaction, my family is complete. The adults exchanged emotional glances over Lily's head. There was still much to be discussed, many details to be worked out, many adaptations to be made. But at that moment, under Aspen's clear sky, with Lily's small hand firmly intertwined with hers, Emma felt she had finally found her place. 6 months later, the One More Mother Foundation was already supporting dozens of families in similar situations. Emma divided her time between New York and Aspen, but increasingly spent more time in the mountain town. Her apartment in the capital gradually emptied, while the house she had bought in Vail, just minutes from Nathan's, filled with life. Lily flourished with the new family arrangement. She loved the visits to Boulder to stay with Rebecca and her husband, Paul, but always returned happy to her routine with Nathan, and now also with Emma, who had become a constant and loving presence in her life. On an autumn afternoon, while Lily and Nathan planted flowers in the garden of the house in Vail, Emma watched them through the window, feeling a fullness she had never imagined possible. Her cell phone rang. It was Ryan with news about the company. She answered, listened attentively, gave some precise directions, and hung up. Nathan came in, bringing the aroma of earth and flowers with him. Everything okay? Perfect, replied Emma, smiling. Life finally makes sense, he approached, enveloping her in an embrace. Outside, Lily hummed while watering the newly planted seedlings. Through the open window came the fresh mountain breeze, carrying promises of a future that none of them could have predicted, but that they now built together, day by day. Emma Mitchell, who once believed that success meant loneliness at the top, had discovered that true achievement was in making room for others in her life. In a small town in the Colorado mountains, far from the skyscrapers and boardrooms, she had found not only love but also a greater purpose than any position or title could ever offer. And Lily, the girl with the red beanie and cloth doll, who had once offered comfort to a sad stranger in a Christmas park, now had not only a dedicated father, but also 2 mothers who loved her, each in her own way, each bringing something unique and special to her life. Together, they weren't just a family. They were living proof that love transcends conventional definitions, that meaningful bonds can be formed in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes all we need to find our way home is the courage to take the first step in a completely new direction.